Let's revisit let's visit on our chief law enforcement officer in the country, Bill Barr, who reportedly ordered the clearing of the, I don't even remember what the square is, Lafayette Square in Washington, D.C., so that the president could take a walk and take a picture of himself holding up a Bible in front of a church. And listen to this guy parse and really try. And I, for the life of me, I don't know who he thinks his audience is here, except for maybe Margaret Brennan, who is sitting across from him. I don't know who he thinks he's kidding with this, but Bill Barr will Bill Barr.
Law enforcement has been going through the same process.
Do you think there should be some tweaking of the rules, reduced immunity to go after some of the bad cops?
I don't think you need to reduce immunity to go after the bad cops, because that would result certainly in police pulling back. Policing is the toughest job in the country, and I frankly think that we have generally the vast overwhelming majority of police are good people. They're civic-minded people who believe in serving the public. They do so bravely. They do so righteously.
But the bad cops?
I think that there are instances of bad cops, and I think we have to be careful about automatically assuming that the actions of an individual necessarily mean that their organization is rotten. All organizations have people who engage in misconduct, and you sometimes have to be careful as to when you ascribe that to the whole organization and when it really is some errant member who isn't following the rules.
But doesn't the opening the pattern or practice investigation to a place like Minneapolis, where there are questions about the broader issues with policing, it wasn't just the one officer, wouldn't that answer that question?
Well, that's exactly the reaction that I think has been a problem in the past, which is again, just reacting to this incident by immediately putting the department under investigation doesn't necessarily result in improving the situation.
This
but I
guy,
would say,
what's brilliant about the way this guy answers? I mean, he's such a lawyer. By saying not necessarily, when he keeps adding not necessarily, it is basically a way of saying it is the case, yes, that there is a problem there, but it's not necessarily a problem there. So we can discount the fact that there's a problem there because it's not necessarily the case. It is the case that the house is on fire, but it's not necessarily on fire because it could possibly not be on fire. Now, it happens to be on fire, but I'm going to lean on the fact that it's not inherent in the building to be on fire. And, one of the things that Bill Barr says here is also, it seems to me, to be a good talking point, that if you're talking to people who you think are not inclined to hear this message, which is you can say there are good people who work on the police force. And you can say it's the toughest job there is. In fact, the reason why we have these problems is because it's too tough of a job. We've put too much on cops, and good people are turning bad because of it. And what we should be doing is taking stuff that cops are not trained for and putting it in other areas of the city. And that's the way that you basically get within their talking point, their frame of reference, accept their premises, and then leverage that to move towards the way that you want, police to be actually constructed. Let's continue to hear him. Is there any more on this, or should we go to the other one?
Yes, there's more. There's like a minute left.
Okay.
Necessarily result in improving the situation. But I would say that in the first instance, the governor has announced an investigation of the police department. The Governor Walz, a Democratic governor, is investigating the police department. the Attorney General of Minnesota is looking into the police department. We stand ready to act if we think it's necessary, but I don't think necessarily starting a pattern of practice investigation at this stage is warranted. Another thing is we have to look at some of the evidence. I mean, people, the fact is that the criminal justice system at both the state and the federal level moved instantaneously on this, and we moved quickly with our investigation. But we still have to look into what kind of use of force policies are used in that department, what the training has been, and things like that. That's not something we can do overnight.
Here is Bill Barr basically dodging his role in ordering the attack on peaceful protesters in Lafayette Square. And remember, that reporter from MSNBC, Hakey or whatever his name is, I'm going to quote him because it just rings in my ear when he was giving this report as they were like, these federales, these like no-name federal police force was attacking the protesters. He said this wasn't 98% peaceful. This wasn't 99% peaceful. It was 100% peaceful. And the police just started attacking. And here is Bill Barr saying, well, I didn't really tell them to do it. I just sort of like suggested, and that's what happened.
Thrown. I saw them thrown.
And you believe that what the Park Police did using tear gas and projectiles was appropriate?
Here's what the media is missing. This was not an operation to respond to that particular crowd. It was an operation to move the perimeter one block.
And the methods they used, you think, were appropriate? Is that
when
what you're
they met
saying?
Resistance, yes. They announced 3 times. They didn't move. By the way, there was no tear gas used. The tear gas was used Sunday when they had to clear 8th Street to allow the fire department to come in to save St. John's Church. That's when tear gas was used.
There were chemical irritants, the Park.
No, there were not chemical irritants. Pepper spray is not a chemical irritant.
I don't think so.
Pepper spray, you're saying, is what was used.
Pepper balls.
Right. And you believe that was appropriate. What I want to show you.
Pepper ball. Oh, wait, no, do we not have him saying the part where it's like
a 5-minute clip of him going back and forth.
Let's just get
I can pull it up.
I want to do the part where he says, like, I didn't say go in there and do it. I just said get it done. Let me read that quote. I'll read that quote because that is just classic Bill Barr. And I got news for you, folks. It wasn't just pepper balls. There were canisters. There were canisters being launched. Everybody watched the video.
He makes it sound like a seasoning you put on a sandwich. Like all of these things are incredibly painful and potentially lethal weapons.
Of course, people lose their eyes. People get, are bleeding. He says, I'm not involved in giving tactical commands like that. First of all, I'd like to know why the Attorney General is involved in giving any commands to a police force. It's not his job to be like, oh, the president's I'm an advance man. I'm going to walk out. Oh, wait, we need to expand the perimeter. That's not the job of the Attorney General to expand the perimeter of the White House security. I'm not involved in giving tactical commands like that, he said. I was frustrated. And I was also worried that as the crowd grew, it was going to be harder and harder to do. This is talking about the really important walk to hold the Bible in front of let's just keep in mind here. It's one thing to say we needed to expand the perimeter of the White House because we were afraid that there was an imminent attack going to happen on the White House. And we needed to save the lives of thousands upon thousands of people because we were afraid there was going to be some type of massive explosion that could have happened. And we needed to get everybody out of there quickly. No, let's be clear. He needed to expand the perimeter around the White House so that the president could walk over, take a Bible from his daughter's $1,400 handbag, a Bible that even when he was asked, is that your Bible? No, it's a Bible. Hold it upside down, shake it as if it's like some type of amulet, and stand in front of a church in which he probably has never been on the inside in the first place. and basically arrest the priests or the ministers there and kick them out of there so that he could go there and abuse the church for the sake of his photo op. That's why this had to happen.
Yeah, those priests were no angels. No,
no, they were no angels. No, they were completely alive. I'm not involved in giving tactical commands like that, he said. I was frustrated. And I was also worried that as the crowd grew, it was going to be harder and harder to do. So my attitude was get it done. But I didn't say, go do it. I wonder what he said that convinced this massive army of ununiformed or secret Department of Justice police to go and attack these people. I wonder what he said as opposed to go do it. Yeah. Do you think it was like let's come up with a couple ideas? Like, it would be nice if that was done.
I was going to say, won't somebody rid me of this meddlesome protest?
Yes. Anybody want a bonus this month? Hello?
But you work for Bill Barr.
I mean, unbelievable what this guy thinks he can get away with. They should have impeached this effer along with Donald Trump. They should do it now. I want to know the exact words he said. My attitude. I mean, we should all be so lucky that we can just simply, just your attitude alone can get that type of response. Can you imagine what would have happened if he had said, go do it? They would have probably affixed bayonets to the front of their batons and just stabbed everybody.
Yeah, Jesus. It's crazy that the military has had to stand up to the White House on this stuff.
Absolutely. Calling for